What are the various factors impacting the valuation of business? First of all, we will know that why is the financial plan needed. So the financial plan is needed to know the funding requirement. So if you are saying that there is a particular funding requirement, is it matching with the revenue that you're making with those kind of funds deployment or not? And what would be the usage of those funds in marketing, in technology, in capex, etc., that should come and be captured in the entire financial plan. Second is that dilution of the stake for a particular funding requirement. What would be the dilution that comes only when you prepare a robust financial plan? Third is the comparison with total addressable market size, or which is called as TAM. So how is the company positioned in the entire total addressable market size? It is only the financial plan that captures all these things, that this is the market size and this is what I'm trying to capture based on the revenue it is making or it is projected to make. Then companies' financials compared to the other peer companies in the same industry. So overall, the financial plan plays a vital role in getting the fundraise from an investor. Now we will understand how to make a financial plan. First and foremost figure is what is my projected revenue. So projected revenue you can calculate quickly as number of clients or users for your product multiplied by the average price you will be charging per client or per user. If you are a manufacturing company then or a trading company, then you can say that product you are likely to sell the products, number of products you are likely to sell multiplied by the average price charged per product. So for example, if the number of clients are 200 and you charge average price per client as $2,000, then your projected year revenue is $400,000. A couple of things that you have to keep in mind here: the revenue should be in sync with the target market size. You cannot say that I will earn more than a market size. When you're saying your product is niche, your market size is not capturing the actual niche area, then you can say that you should have a justification of what market size that you're trying to capture. Focus only on the cash revenues. If there is accrual, if you're saying that out of these $2,000 that you're charging the price, $1,000 will be given next year and 1,000 will be accrued this year, then you only have to take $1,000 because you only have to focus on the cash revenue. Then willingness or appetite to pay. You should also focus on, if you're saying that average price charged per client is $2,000, but the willingness of the market is only to pay $500, then obviously it is a mismatch with your financial model. Then be realistic in your projections. Whatever you are making in the financial plan, it has to be achievable. Important point here is revenue is post fundraise. After you raise funds, how much would be the revenue that you will be getting? So maybe if you are saying that I am raising some $5,000 for marketing, then your financial plan has to capture that $5,000 and vis-a-vis the revenue you will get after you spend that kind of money. Next is making the financial plan. The second point is projected cost. It includes all the operating costs, maybe the employee cost, procurement cost, the selling and admin cost, etc. All the cost needs to be captured here. For example, the employee cost is $100,000. Procurement cost includes raw material, software, short-term software, etc. is 20,000. Selling and admin includes rent, marketing, branding, etc. Whatever cost you spend on the selling of a product and administration of the company is $50,000. The total projected year operating cost is $170,000. The important points here are compare with the cost of the peer companies. See, every projected cost or a financial plan is unique to a business model. But if you do not have any cost in the mind, you can also take the cost of peer companies, which you can justify. Focus only on the cash cost, again, because the revenue is also cash. Focus on marketing and owner's salary. Most of the times, especially in the mergers and acquisition, when you're selling a company, normally owner's salary are not being, because owners normally renounce their salaries. So you need to add a hypothetical figure of owner's salary. Be realistic in the projections again, and cost is post fundraise. This is for one projected year. You have to replicate the exercise for the other 3 projected years. Normally, it is advisable to have 3 projected years, beyond which normally investor do not expect you to forecast beyond that, because then you're not able to forecast properly beyond 3 years. The next point is, what is my working capital requirement? Working capital requirement is the capital requirement that you require for filling the short-term needs or the day-to-day requirement. For example, you have to give some advances to employees, some advances to vendors, maybe for keeping some petty cash, for stationery, etc. These are the working capital requirement. Or if you have some difference between the payment cycle and the recipient cycle. For example, you have to say, what is my net working capital cycle? You can say days after which you get payment from the user minus the days after which you give payment to the vendor or employee. So if you're saying you have a software where you get on the spot money, then you will say days after which I get the money is 0. And if you pay to your employees after 30 days, that it becomes 0 minus 30. It's minus 30. That means you do not have to need any capital requirement in the business. You're always cash positive. So whatever is your requirement is being fulfilled by your internal accrual. So you do not need any additional working capital requirement outside of this profit you make. In an alternative example, you can say that, it takes 60 days for you to get payment from your user after you raise an invoice. And you have to give payment to the vendor or employee in 30 days. That means 60 minus 30 becomes 30. So for 30 days, you need a working capital requirement. Now, how they're calculated, you can either calculate it on the base of revenue or on the base of costs. Or you can also say that days after which you get payment from user is, you take a basis as revenue. Days after which you give payment to vendors and employee based on the cost, respective cost. For example, you have, if we are saying that we are calculating days entirely on the revenue part, you can say the total revenue is, like in our example, is $400,000. It is for 365 days because it's yearly revenue. Multiply by, you are saying that on an average 30 days I would need for running my company. So it becomes $32,876 you need to keep in your account for running of the company and for day-to-day operations. So this is the amount that you have to keep every year, every time, any point of time, this money should be available in your company. Again, it is unique for each business model because working capital cycle is unique for each business model based on negotiation, based on vendors you have. You should be revising it every year. For example, if you've grown large, you could have economies of scale and your payment terms could change with vendors. They can increase your payment terms. Or your payment methods could change. Days after which you get payment from user, it could also change based on the branding you get over the period of time. If you do not have anything, then again compare with the capital requirement of the peer companies. Then what is my capital expenditure requirement? It's for long-term needs, especially for the asset creation. For example, purchase of assets, example, laptops, software license, any long-term software license which is used beyond 1 year. Or if, for example, if you are a cab aggregation company and you have cabs in your account and you buy taxis or cabs and you pay an upfront amount, etc., for the capital expenditure and then run the cabs, that means the cabs are also your asset. Or if you have electric vehicle is your asset. Then you have to say a net purchase of assets minus selling of asset. Sale could be, project for sale of building, and you have to capture that also. Again, it is unique for each business model. You should revise it every day. For say there is one-time purchase or one-time sale of any asset. Compare with the capex of the peer companies. What is a discounted cash flow? See, investors are interested in cash. How much cash is coming in through revenue or other sources, minus what is the cash going outside for any kind of operating expenditure or tax, etc. In our example, we are taking tax as 0, for example. So 400,000 minus 170,000 becomes 230,000 as a projected year revenue. You have to repeat this exercise for 3 years separately. So the projections are divided into 3 parts. First is historical, where you have to capture the historical numbers, what has already been done, and that cannot be changed. Second is the projected period. That is a 3-year period that you are saying that I know the projections that what I will achieve in next 3 years. And the last is the perpetuity period, or you say post-projected period. Post-projected period is a period because company is a going concern. You cannot say that after 3 years the company will shut down, but you assume that after 3 years I cannot project it. I cannot project the growth. So you can say that, okay, it will grow at an optimum or a stabilized growth rate. And that is the stabilized period. And we'll discuss about that also. Then again, revenue and cash post fundraise, you need to include. Now there could be additional cash flows also. It includes outflow and then inflow. For example, the first is any free cash or surplus assets. Free cash and surplus assets are not other assets and cash which are not generally used in operating the business. Like any windfall gain, some lotteries that you have achieved, or some fixed deposits or investments in other startups that you have to mention in the valuation when you're doing it using our software. Current debt status, obviously it impacts the valuation as it is an obligation to pay, and the company's revenues will go into paying the debt obligation. So you have to mention that also. So you have to mention the outstanding debt as on the date and the interest rate applicable for paying the interest on the principal. Then is average tax rates. What's the applicable tax rate in your country? If you have some long-term tax holiday, you can obviously consider it as 0, or you can take an average of what you would pay during the period of time. Post-projected period is again a stabilized period. Again, like we were discussing, market considers that no one can project a future beyond a 3-year period. After projected period, consider your business will stabilize, at least for a tranche of funding that you get. You can project a second round of funding, but it is better to have 2 projections and 2 rounds of funding. What are the factors impacting the stabilized period? So after 3 years of the projected period where you have projected that your company will grow exorbitantly, there is a normalized growth rate that will come. It is the rate at which the industry overall will grow. If you are in a B2B SaaS company like FundTQ is in B2B SaaS model, that you will say that, okay, B2B SaaS will grow at a 15% rate. It will not fall beyond this in a long term also. Normally you have to link with the country growth rate, but obviously country growth rate is between 3 to 5% when you're in India. When you say that country growth rate is too low compared to your industry, because your industry is unique, it's technology driven, and that is the future of the country. So you can also justify that your company will grow at a higher growth rate than the country growth rate. Second is the long-term capital needs. Long-term capital needs are the needs, like you said, you need working capital and capital expenditure for projected period. Now, when your company will stabilize, how much working capital you will need, how much capex you will need. You may say that it is 0. I don't need any working capital, additional working capital. Whatever 32,000 you've projected in the previous year, that will be stabilized. So I don't have any additional need, that will only be there. So whatever I have in my account is a working capital, which I'm setting aside over the years. I would need that only. I would not need any additional. Over and above that, I don't need any capital. Or capex needs. Capex needs, you will say that I will not hire anyone. I don't need any laptops. Or you can say my laptops will wear and tear and I will get more laptops. You can take it as a percentage of sales. It could be higher, it could be lower also. Then there is financial leverage. Financial leverage means a debt equity ratio that you are projecting to be there. If you're assuming that in the long term, you want to take equity, all equity from investors, you can keep it 0:100. For example, in Jio's case, the debt in the books was approximately 1 lakh INR crore. So the debt as on the date was 1 lakh something crore. But in the future, he projected that it will be debt free. That means it becomes 0:100. That each and every capital will come through equity and nothing will come through debt. And that's all for this particular page of Fund TQ that you are filling in the valuation. I hope you understand all the concepts and you will fill all the details properly, because that will only drive your valuation and that will only make your projections robust and will win confidence of your investors. For any query, you can write to us at info@fundtq.com. Thank you so much.